In a shack where rats outnumbered coins, a blind chef and a starving girl discovered a terrible truth. Hunger makes better teachers than palaces. But as their knives found rhythm and their pot grew lighter, the real lesson emerged. Some fires don't need eyes to burn. They ate together in silence. The girl noticed how the chef's bandages had loosened after hours by the fire. Damp with sweat and steam, the cloth sagged over the bridge of his nose. Without thinking, she reached out, then froze. Your bandage is coming undone, she whispered. His hands flew to his face, fingers brushing the frayed edges. A reflex. Then, slowly, he lowered them. A long silence stretched between them, filled only by the crackling fire. Can I? She began, unsure. He exhaled, then gave a single nod. Her fingers trembled as she untied the knot at the back of his head. The fabric unwound like a snake shedding skin, revealing scars that twisted from his forehead to cheekbones, jagged, shiny patches where fire had licked his flesh. They formed ridges like wax seals on a royal decree nobody wished to read. The eyelids beneath were sealed shut, the lashes long gone. She bit her lip. Does it hurt? Not anymore, he said. His voice was softer than she'd ever heard it. But the air, it feels different without the cloth. The girl held her breath. It was never about the wounds, he said. It was about hiding what the fire did, what I couldn't stop. She reached out, then hesitated. He caught her wrist midair and pressed her palm to his cheek. The scars felt warm, not monstrous. See? He said, just skin. That night, for the first time, the wind touched his face freely. And when dawn came, the bandages stayed on the floor, forgotten beside the ashes of last night's fire. Day by day, the blind chef grew accustomed to cooking without sight, his hands guided by the girl's descriptions. They fell into a rhythm, peeling turnips at dawn, listening for the oil's perfect hiss at noon, sharing scraps at dusk. One morning, as they tended the bubbling congee, a shadow darkened the doorway. A fishwife hovered at the threshold, her calloused hands still reeking of the morning's catch. But her nostrils flared at the ginger's bite, the chef's head tilted toward her ragged breathing. Without a word, he slid a steaming bowl across the table. She gasped at his scars, then gulped the congee like a woman drowning. When she finally left, her fingers were clean of both fish scales and tears. The abandoned nets downstream her only apology. The days that followed had rhythm. In the mornings, the girl would sweep the space around the shack, shooing away rats and chasing flies. The chef, now always seated by the fire pit, would wait with quiet patience, hands resting on his knees. Tell me what you see, he'd ask as she returned from the market. Sometimes she came back empty-handed. Other times with odd things, pickled radish ends, wilted greens, a bruised tomato someone had thrown away. But the chef never complained. This one's sweet underneath, he said once, holding a bruised pear she had brought. She watched him cut around the bruises with elegant precision. There was a grace in his hands again. A lightness that hadn't been there before she came. At first, she was just his eyes. But soon, she became his hands. He taught her how to clean vegetables properly, how to listen for the moment oil became hot enough, how to feel the shift in weight when dumpling dough was just right. She didn't always get it right. But the chef never raised his voice. Each mistake became a lesson, and something shifted in him too. He started tasting again, not just for salt or balance, but intentionally. He leaned in to sniff steam rising from the pot. He felt textures with his fingertips and lips. His hands stopped trembling. One afternoon, as he kneaded the dough, the girl noticed he didn't once reach up to adjust phantom bandages. His hands stayed flour-dusted and sure. They were frying scallion cakes made from leftover rice flour and pickled greens. She asked, "Do you miss it? The palace?" He didn't answer right away. "I miss the work," he said finally. "Not the place. I miss creating something that made people quiet when they tasted it." She turned the scallion cakes gently in the pan. "These do that," she said. He smiled faintly. Two old women from the canal's edge stopped by the shack that evening, drawn by the smell of scallion cakes. One of them took a bite and paused, eyes widening. "Who made this?" the woman asked. The old woman's chopsticks hovered mid-bite, her arthritis-knotted fingers trembling. Not from pain. The chef knew that particular tremor. It was the same shudder that moved through food tasters when encountering unexpected perfection. The girl glanced at the chef, who was sipping tea beside the fire. "We both did," she said. The girl's voice had changed since that first night. Less reed thin, more earth than air. She described their process with a cook's precision. How they'd toasted the rice flour twice to remove dampness. How the chef had timed the scallion's addition by listening to the oil's pitch. The woman touched her wrinkled cheek, surprised to find tears. My mother. She used to say good food speaks in dialects. This tastes like her village. The chef turned away, but not before the girl saw his throat work. That night, he portioned extra dumplings for the old woman's breakfast. From then on, more people came, quietly, one by one, not many. Just those who had heard about the shack near the canal, where a blind man cooked food that tasted like memory. He never charged them. Sometimes they brought something in return. Firewood, old vegetables, a strip of cloth for the girl's tattered dress. The chef listened to each voice. He never asked names. He only cooked. And the girl, she had stopped trembling from hunger. Her cheeks filled out. Her voice gained certainty. She was still small, still scrappy, but there was fire in her now. One morning, after they finished a porridge that had made an old man cry, the girl sat by the fire and said, "We could sell this. Set up a cart, like in the markets." The chef turned his head. "To make money?" "No," she said. "To keep cooking, for more people. You said you miss silence after a good meal. Let's give that silence to more mouths." He was quiet for a long time. Then he reached forward and placed a hand gently on her head. "You're more of a cook than you know." That evening, after she had fallen asleep, he sat alone with the fire. He hadn't thought of himself as a chef in months. Not since the explosion. Not since the world turned dark. But now, with her hands and eyes, he remembered the joy of creation. Not grandeur, not glory, just the act. He had something to pass on, something worth rebuilding. That night, while the girl slept, his fingers traced the coins beneath his mat, saved for death or drunkenness. Now, they'd buy life, a third purpose at last. He hadn't touched them in weeks, saving them as if saving his last breath. At dawn, she woke to find him counting coins by feel, his lips moving silently over their edges. "Are we going somewhere?" He nodded, the dawn light catching the healed ridges along his temple. "We're going to build a cart."